Hey guys, Tarke here, and this is going to be my trapper advice video for 3.15. The goal of this video will hopefully be to help you league start with whatever trap skill you want. This isn't going to be a super in-depth, crazy breakdown on every single thing you need to do. However, I do have that covered because last league I made a very in-depth video, beginner trapper guide. This is still completely relevant, nearly entirely up to date. The only things you really need to adjust for is crit chance values. This will be links down below. The POB link still works. If you're planning on doing any of the elemental spell-based trappers, this video covers everything. I'm mostly going to be talking about what I recommend for trappers going forward and talking quite a lot about Blade Trap. The main issue with Blade Trap, because I think it will be good, but the main issue is area. And you can see this in the promotion footage. So if we just watch this footage, you'll hopefully get what my main issue with this skill will be. I'm playing this in slow motion. Okay, look at how tiny that area of effect is. You throw a trap, the trap lands, and then it spins, and it's got 2 copies of your weapon spinning around. It has a set amount of rotations. It will always rotate X amount of times, it will always hit the enemy X amount of times. If you dual wield, you get an additional rotation, and it rotates faster. So the advantage of dual wielding is you get 1 extra hit, and you deal that damage over a shorter duration of time. The downside of dual wielding is then you've potentially got the damage loss of, you know, if you've got 1 really good weapon and 1 not so great weapon, then it messes you up a little bit. So if you just have 1 very good weapon, you'll have an easier time of scaling it. It will deal slightly less damage, but it will probably even out, and yeah, whatever. There will be decent dual wield setups, but you have to make a decision. Am I dual wielding or am I not dual wielding? But if you look at the actual, like, AoE, that is pathetically small. And I've seen some people saying, oh, it's fine, Tarke, because you have Costa Trap, so you just throw out like 3 at once. If you throw 3 of these at once, you wouldn't have hit all 3 of those monsters. Like, you're going to really struggle with that area. We don't know, like, I don't know how good the clear on this is going to be. The other issue that I have with Blade Trap is they've given a lot of love to cooldown traps with Lightning Spire and Seismic Trap this league. So it feels kind of bad to play a skill which doesn't get to make use of these really cool new cooldowns. So that seems kind of clunky to me. And I really, really worry about the area. If we just watch this map footage slowed down, you've got to throw it. You've got to wait for the delay. And like, okay, yeah, he's hitting these, but like none of these mobs are getting touched. The strength and weakness of traps is it's a very mobile playstyle. The ideal scenario is you throw 1 set of traps, and that 1 set of traps kills the entire pack. If you're having to throw like 2 or 3 sets of trap just to hit the pack, not kill, hit. Keep in mind that we're going to have a lot less damage in the next league. If you're having to hit like 2 volleys of traps to kill, but then you need to throw like 3 times to hit everything, then it's going to be kind of a slow, kind of clunky-ish play. So I really think that area scaling is going to be probably the most important thing for this skill. You can brute force your damage just by having good weapons. Having good weapons, having good gear will brute force the damage. You can always brute force attack skills. However, you really need to make sure the AoE is good. Okay, so the other thing to consider with Blade Trap is what weapon are you using. So with Blade Trap, you can use swords, daggers, or claws. So how do you decide which one you want to use? And there's also been quite a bit of confusion about this. So the advantage of claws, the good thing about claws is they have very good implicits, giving you either leech or life and mana gain on hit. You do not get that benefit with traps. The traps are hitting, not you. So unless you're planning on using a specific unique claw, do not use claws. Claws are a mistake. The only reason to use claws would be if you wanted a specific unique claw, like Hand of Wisdom and Action, going like int stacking, or if you maybe want to do poison stuff and use Wasp Nest as a cheap budget option. I will say if you want to do the poison stuff, I'm not super confident in it. But Badger has made a video talking about it. I'm not completely sold on how he's going about doing it. For me, the only real reason to do poison would be to abuse coated shrapnels. Coated shrapnels are very cheap. They're very common, and they give you chance to poison on hit. Passives in radius grant traps and mines deal flat physical damage. So if we were to shove one of those in here, one of those in here, one of those in here, for every single node you picked up in this circle, you'd gain a bunch of flat fizz. And you can see, ooh, you've got quite a few tasty options, especially in this one down here. You generally want to pick up Frenzy Charges eventually. You're already getting Herbalist, you're already getting this. Getting Survivalist is a decent pickup. Getting the attack speed is a waste of getting some accuracy isn't terrible. Likewise over here, you know, you can change your tree site to make use of those. Again, getting the Frenzies is okay. Soul Thief is kind of whatever, but like, you're getting a lot of flat fizz for each one. For here, you're getting all of these nodes, which you want to take anyway. You're getting a fair few travel nodes. You could come down. It makes taking Charisma feel better if you want to do Charisma. It's a definite option. So, let's go back to talk about weapons. So we've discarded claws, unless you're using a unique claw. You're using either swords or daggers. Daggers would be pretty good because it's much harder to get your crit chance worked out, and there's quite a few quite nice dagger nodes about. The main ones that really grab my fancy are these ones. So you're getting accuracy and crit chance, you're getting some hits, some crit chance, and you're getting some crit multi and some more accuracy and some hits. So that's all very nice. And then over here, you're getting a whole bunch of crit chance, crit multi, and you're getting the crit multi and crit chance against enemies on full life. I think the dagger setup looks very strong. I think that's pretty solid. The other option I would say is swords. And then for swords, you do your tree to kind of look like this. And then you shove in Fatal Blade. And then you pick up Honed Edge. You're getting some accuracy and some damage. Getting some accuracy and some damage. Getting some damage and a bunch of flat accuracy. And that's kind of that. There's probably more in-depth, crazy ways of doing the trees. But those would basically be the default. You don't want to think. You just want to try out the new skill and have fun. That's kind of how I'd want to do it. Now, keep in mind, are you building it poison? Are you building it elemental? Are you building physical hit? If you're building it elemental, then you're going to want to make sure that you pick up high explosives, and you're going to want to take explosive expert for the crit multi, the crit chance, and the pen. However, that means that you're not getting that AoE. Chain reaction will do nothing to increase your damage. It will only increase your area. I guess you could make the argument that it might be the difference between your third, like all your traps hitting the single target, so it could kind of be seen as a DPS increase on single target, but you would hope that if you threw a bunch of cluster traps at the boss, they would all hit. So maybe you could think of it as like a soft AoE increase. If you're doing poison or physical, don't take this, you take this. I think that if you can get your hands on stuff like Paradoxicas, great, it'll be very strong. Stuff like Rebuke of the Vaal would be very good as an option as well. So Rebuke of the Vaal just has a bunch of just flat damage. The thing which is good about Blade Trap is you don't care about attack speed. The only thing you care about is just flat damage and stuff like crit chance. So any unique weapon that previously had really good numbers but didn't have attack speed, Varanastra would be another example of a weapon like that. Those are the kind of uniques you want to be looking at. But honestly, if I was going to be playing Blade Trap, I'd probably just go for Elemental, try and pick up an early incursion weapon, and then craft crit on it and hope that carries me. So that's the whole Blade Trap discussion out of the way. Now, getting into the elemental-based trappers, what traps would I recommend if I was going to League start traps? I would go for the Lightning package. I think the buffed Lightning Spire Trap looks incredibly strong. I would use a Lightning Spire Trap as my 6th link. And I would use either Lightning Trap or Arc Trap in like a pseudo 5/6 link. Through either Shaper Helmet or Gloves or Deerstalker Boots. I think Arc Trap, if you could pick up a pair of Deerstalker Boots early into the league, like day 1, shove your Arc Trap in there for a 5 link, and then you shove your Lightning Spire Trap in chest, you would get carried super hard. The thing which is very nice about both Lightning Trap and Lightning Spire Trap respectively is they both have 6% base crit, and they gain increased critical strike chance against shocked enemies, which is really, really nice. You won't struggle that much getting the crit chance, losing the Diamond Flask, going for either Lightning Trap or Lightning Spire Trap. I have always preferred Lightning Trap to Arc Trap. I did a whole bunch of videos on it last league, but I ended up playing more Lightning Trap, more Arc Trap than Lightning Trap last league because of Val Arc. Val Arc is very strong for league mechanics, which just dump loads of monsters on you suddenly. I could see Val Arc being very good for expeditions. It just depends on how spammy it is with the monsters. And Val Arc got buffed relatively a lot stronger than I would say Lightning Trap, because the main thing which held back Val Arc was the weakness of the Trap Support gem, but when you nerf the damage multipliers of everything else, it makes it a much more attractive option. The other big thing that we really need to talk about is Saboteur versus Raider. So I made a series of trap videos last week, which again, they're all still relevant. If you go back and watch them, you will learn stuff if you've never played traps before. And I was kind of coming to the decision that I think that Raider was the best trap ascendancy. In the beginner trap guide, which again will be linked down below, I talk a lot about like, well, why would you want to do one? Why would you want to do the other? And I was saying that Saboteur is the best beginner option and Raider is the best min-max option. I think even more so now with the changes, Saboteur is looking incredibly strong, both for beginners but also for very min-max players. The main thing really is from Pyromaniac, the Ignite and Shock. Shock is very scary. People do not respect Shock enough, and having that immunity is just easy. You don't need to think about it. The thing which was really nice about Raider, and will still be very nice about Raider, is the phasing aspect of it. It's going to be much harder to maintain your phasing. This will affect Tinkerskin, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but with the nerf to fast, you're not going to have your Quartz Flask up as often. Having the phasing is very nice. It makes you feel much safer with the trap playstyle. You can just throw, then run through the pack, and then the traps will land and kill everything behind you. So for the Raider trees, you're going to want to take Avatar of the Veil and then Crystal Skin. With Crystal Skin, these 5 points, you will be ailment immune. But you now have this opportunity cost if you now want to spend these 5 points. If you don't want to spend the 5 points, you can actually craft Chance to Avoid Ailments on your gear, but then that's not going to be something you're going to have access to at league start. So that's something later into the league. Having this extra opportunity cost of the points pushes things more in favor of Saboteur. And also in a patch where you're losing damage, and Sab already did like 25% more damage than the Raider, that makes that a lot more attractive. And finally, because cast speed no longer scales Lightning Spire Trap, which it used to, which was a reason to play Raider, that makes Saboteur more attractive. If you end up with the Incursion Gloves, all the cast speed scaling from the Onslaught stuff from Raider is still very attractive. So Raider is still a very good option for traps, but it's much more of a min-max option. Sab is a much safer, more average pick. Okay, now one thing that I've seen a lot of is Tarke. Why should people play traps? Because if everyone's playing traps, won't trap gear be really expensive? I'm going to say something which might be a bit questionable to some people. I don't think trap gear really exists. As far as trap gear, there's only really one thing that kind of matters, and that's the Incursion Gloves. So mana is going to be a bit of an issue going forward. They've made mana cost much harder. One of the things which is quite nice, especially about elemental-based traps, is Inspiration, and that's another reason to favor elemental blade trap over, say, physical or poison blade trap, is going to use Inspiration. Inspiration plus Perfect Crime, reducing the cost of skills, makes a very big difference. Last week, I was shoving a Life Tap onto all of my trappers. With the changes they've made to Life Trap, I don't think I would basically ever run Life Trap again. You could maybe make it work. I very much support you guys trying it, but I think it's going to be very rough. I would go back to using mana cost, and I think the main way that you make the mana palatable is Perfect Crime, Inspiration. Early on, you're probably going to have to use a Mana Flask, but you will eventually drop the Mana Flask. You run a 50% Aura, and you run Skitterbots. You leave 50% of your mana unreserved, and you just have to work it out. You're going to have to get some mana regeneration somewhere on gear. So it's something you're going to have to work out. It's a little bit awkward. The Architect's Hand, if you can get the Blood Magic Gloves, great. That solves a lot of your issues. It's a bit of a bottleneck, but you're less dependent on them now, I would make the argument. You don't need them for traps to feel good. I've never actually gotten the upgraded Incursion Gloves in SSF, and I've done all the content quite happily on traps without them. You don't need them for the build to feel good. Tinkerskin, I've always thought, is a okay-ish item. It's not the best item in the world. People seriously overhype it. I would say that Tinkerskin has gained value as an item this patch because of phasing. So Tinkerskin gives you phasing. So that relatively makes it more attractive compared to a rare. However, the counterpoint to that is we care more about crit chance now. So especially if you're using a spell-based trap, not blade trap, just having a rare chest with like life, percent life, and then spell crit or attack crit or something on there is really massive in terms of damage, or like plus level of gems or whatever. Getting a little bit of extra cooldown recovery if you're using Lightning Spell Trap, yeah, it's okay. You don't care about the Frenzy Charge generation because you already get that on the tree anyway. The life and ES recovery, it can be noticeable that you can make it work, especially if you're still trying to push the whole life tap setup. The Energy Shield is very good if you're going Eldritch Battery. I think Eldritch Battery is another way to go to bypass the mana issue. You can change your trees. Like, I'm sure there'll be a fair few people who would just, instead of doing this whole going down south thing, which is something I'm a big fan of, they just go hard across the left. I also think that mind over matter based trappers is a thing that, you know, people start doing again. But if you're new to traps and you're just like, I don't know what to do, Tarke, please help me, I would recommend that you go for a tree which looks something kind of like this for blade trap. Again, if you're sword, take the sword nodes. If you're claw, take the claw nodes. If you want to do the poison stuff, you can check out Badger's video. It doesn't have my seal of approval. Nothing against Badger, but I'm not mad sold on the idea, and he wasn't going crazy with coated shrapnels, and I feel like that's the whole point of that build. But I'm sure he will update it, he'll work it out. So you can follow that if you want to. For me though, if I had to recommend traps to people, which I do, traps are the main thing I recommend to people as a league start, I would say go for the lightning package, otherwise go for Ice Trap. Ice Trap has a very easy time, it has very good damage. It did lose some damage because of the changes to Bone Chill. So it got hit a little bit, whereas Lightning only really gained. So the Ice Trap did lose some there, but it can freeze bosses. It can freeze bosses very easily, and GGG has made it easier to apply ailments to bosses, so it can now freeze bosses even harder. But yes, if you have any specific questions, leave them down below. Again, make sure you check out the YouTube video, which I'll leave linked. It has the POB. Watch this video. Please don't just load up the POB and be like, I'm confused. Watch the video. I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Best of luck with your trapper starts. By the way, let me know what kind of trap builds you're considering. If there's anything you feel like I've missed out, please feel free to ask. And I'm going to do another video later today covering what builds I am considering league starting as, because I'm considering league starting as some non-trap builds. But yes, I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Bye-bye.